Hey friends, welcome back to another video. It's your girl Meg, and in today's video we're doing my 2023 sweat-proof makeup tips video. So I've got this video full of amazing tips that you can start incorporating into your makeup routine to make it perfect for summer and to last all day long. If you're ready for that, go ahead and stay tuned. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future uploads, and make sure to follow along on social media, especially my Instagram stories, where I'm always sharing really easy and attainable makeup tips. Let's get started. I've got a lot to share with you. This is my third year in a row filming this type of video. I like to make sure that I'm always expanding on my knowledge and sharing my knowledge as an artist, makeup artist, to you, and giving you the best tips possible that are the newest tips with the best products that I have found to achieve these things. I'm just gonna share with you just certain things that you might wanna start switching out in your routine that you can start doing to make your makeup more sweat proof. This goes without being said. We wanna make sure that you are prepping the skin, you are cleansing, moisturizing, using plenty of SPF. Like, you don't wanna rely on your foundations or skin tints to give you that SPF coverage. You've gotta put that in beforehand. When I wanna make sure that my makeup looks really, really good, I do all of my skin prep, meaning my cleansing, moisturizing SPF, and I wait about 10 minutes before I start doing my makeup so that everything can soak in. One thing that I do like to do under my eyes is take one little tiny drop of facial oil and press that under the skin and let it set as a way to hydrate the under eye. Sounds kind of counterintuitive in summer, but for me it really helps my makeup not crease under my eyes more. It just really works for me. Another thing I want to mention is if you are having some issues with like texture. I haven't shared this tip before, but this is part of the skin prep portion. So I feel like skin prep is super important and we cannot skip this part. One thing I've started doing before I put on my moisturizer is using like an exfoliating peel pad. There's ones from Elemis, First Aid Beauty. There's another one on Amazon. I'll link a few below, but I've been using the Elemis Dynamic Resurfacing Facial Pads. And this really just kind of sloughs off any dry skin that I might have on the skin, really preps the skin, makes it glowy, and it makes a huge difference in the way that my makeup goes on top of it and stays all day. Try like a peel pad before you go in with your moisturizer, sort of slough off some of the drier skin and little flakies that you might have, because I feel like that is a big game-changing step. I'm gonna go over this very quickly because I've talked about this in the last two videos, is making sure to use a gripping primer. A gripping primer, switching to something like this in summer, is really going to help your makeup last a whole lot longer. A gripping primer is like this gel, like it feels moisturizing and hydrating on the skin. It's sort of a gel consistency, and then it begins to feel sticky on the skin. Like the moment it becomes sticky is the moment you wanna go in with that foundation, because that foundation is going to stick onto it. It's almost like adhering onto it. It's like a little sticky base. Foundations. There's a couple things I want to say about foundations. I used this in my video last year, but I'm also going to use it this year because I feel like a nice medium glowy foundation is what I love in summer. If you have an event, I'll make some suggestions for some super long wear event foundations that you can use. This also I feel like photographs really well, looks great at events, but I think for everyday use, we kind of want to gravitate towards something a little bit lighter in summer months, something that's not going to feel heavy on the skin. I'll make some other medium foundation suggestions in the description box as well. I'll link a few others that I think are really great, but like start switching into things that are a little bit more glowy and medium coverage. Lighter consistency things are just gonna stay put a little bit better in summer. They're not gonna feel as heavy on the skin. Now that I have just talked for however long I've been talking, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my gripping primer first. It does, like I said, starting to get sticky, and it kind of happens right away, so you need to move quick. When you're going in with your foundations, my biggest tip, and I've said this a million times in the other videos, let's all repeat it together, go in light layers. The lighter layers you go in, the less cakey your makeup's going to be. You kind of do one pump, you reassess, do another. So I like to dot it all over the face and sort of spread it with my fingers and then go in with my brush to sort of buff it and blend it in. When I am pushing my foundation in, I'm using a tapping motion and kind of a swirling motion like this. This is what pushes the foundation into the skin. You know, you can go in these buffing circular motions. And if you start swiping, like kind of going in downward motions, you will get a lot of those brush strokes. But if you tap the brush and then sort of go in the buffing circular motions, you'll get less of that streaky brush strokes, you know? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Now that we've got our base on with our foundation, this is when I start going into my under eye area to color correct and do a concealer. And the same thing goes for this part of the routine, is you wanna make sure that you are using a very light hand and just placing it in the very specific spots that you need it, rather than just like putting concealer and corrector all over your face. And I just tap that out with my finger to correct on the under eye area before I go in with my concealer. And to make sure that this lasts all day is I kind of wait a little bit in between steps. A lot of times if you put the corrector down and then you immediately go in with your concealer, you could be wiping away some of that coverage. So letting that sit and a little dry down just a little bit is going to give you more punch to work with using less product. Because, you know, like I said, I've said this a million times, the more product you put on your skin, the more that chances for it to slip and slide off your face. So now I'm going in with my concealer. I want to mention this product. This is the Catrice True Skin High Cover Concealer. Blown away by it. I think if you want a concealer for summer months, that is just amazing. That's got a lot of pigment, but is very thin in consistency, like a serum sort of formula, but is high coverage, but also is hydrating, but also sets down really well and doesn't crease. Like, guys, try this for summer. It's hard to find in stores, but I get mine on Amazon, and I wear shade 010 Cool Cashmere, and it's a really good match for me. So with concealer, we're not doing this whole swiping it all over the place. We're just going to put it in the inner corner of our eyes and the inner corner eyelids, because I get darkness right there. See the placement of the concealer? I've gone over this technique before where this is the only amount of concealer that I'm using. I could even use less if I wanted to, but I go in with my finger and then I start spreading it in the direction of where I want this concealer to cover. So instead of using actual product, I'm spreading it with my finger. This again minimizes the amount of product that I've put under my eyes. And then from here, you can do a number of things. You can go in with your sponge and sort of like tap in any excess. I also think brushes are great in the summer, because you're just putting a tiny bit of concealer under the eye, but then you're using a brush, so you're not taking any of the coverage away. I also really like these sponges from Shop Miss A. They're on Amazon. I'll link all the tools underneath this video as well. I'm going to move on to a tip for bronzer and blush that's going to give you a long-lasting bronzer and blush looks. Basically, the whole idea is that you're going to use a cream bronzer and a cream blush, and you're going to set those products with a powder blush and a powder bronzer. So instead of using setting powder over top of your creams that might take some of the pigment down, you're gonna layer these to give yourself a longer lasting blush, a longer lasting bronzer. Now this step is totally optional. If that's like too much on your skin, then you don't have to do it. The other way that I was doing it before was that I would just kind of set my entire face with powder and then sort of start doing the blush, bronzer, highlight situation on top with powder products. I'm not creating more layers of product by going this method. So instead of like just a setting powder, this is kind of going to be my setting powder. Just draw it on haphazardly to like bring some life back into my face. Again, I don't like to use too much. The more that you put on, the more that can cake off. But this is one that I love. Just like, I feel like I always get a really pretty result from it. And that's just going to go on the cheeks, on top of the bronzer. I'm using the same brush. So I've laid down all of my cream products. As you see, I've not even gone in with any setting powders yet, because I still have my foundation, my concealer on. I haven't touched any setting powders yet. We will get there, but we're not there yet. One thing you can do at this point is take a setting spray on all of these creams. Let's say you're just somebody that doesn't even want any setting powder and it's too much for you and you're more into creams. You could just go in with your setting spray at this point and kind of finesse your makeup from there. I need powders. I live in Houston. There's just no freaking way that I'd be able to get away without having some sort of setting powder. You wanna let this dry down, and then you're gonna go in with your blush powder bronzer and your powder blush. You're gonna just do a little bit of bronzer. Going in with the powder bronzer and the powder blush, it's also going to avoid excess powder on the skin, like setting powder that could potentially be cakey, which I think is such a great technique. We're minimizing the powders, but we're still using powders in a way to set the skin. This is the blush. We're going on top of the skin. I like my blush to go high up on the cheek, kind of almost in the under eye area. This is why I haven't gone in with my setting powder yet either, is because since I'm using that blush so high up, I'm going to use less under eye setting powder. Some of that blush ends up in that concealer, honestly. Okay, and here's the point where we're going to set the under eye area. I'm gonna use this powder from Milani. It's a talc-free, really translucent, loose powder that is so undetectable. I'm gonna grab my my powder puff right here. I'm gonna make sure before I go in with my setting powder to look under the eyes and see if there's any spots that needed any blending in, did anything crease. Then I'm gonna go just set minimally with the powder puff just right here. Any other spots I feel like I want the blurring effect, I'm going to go in with the powder puff. I like to do this around the mouth. This is where I sweat the most. Take your powder puff instead of a brush to precisely apply it in spots that are really prone to caking and creasing. Now here's a really great tip, is if you wanna look really glowy in summer, but you still need to use powders, so like you really need to make sure that you're setting with a powder, you can use a powder like this. This is a newer product. There has been stuff like this on the market. I just love how affordable this is. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Pressed Powder, and this is a translucent shade that has a bit of a sheen to it. So I like to take a fluffier brush with this product and then just make sure I get like the perimeter of my face. So since I've set my bronzer and blush with the powder bronzer and the powder blush, I'm using this more kind of on the forehead, kind of down here, to bring some more glow onto the skin. But now I have like just like a really glowy set base with powders and everything, but it doesn't look cakey. It doesn't feel heavy on the skin because you have to make sure that you're using such a light hand. So at this point in my makeup routine, I think using setting spray throughout the makeup routine is really going to help the longevity of your makeup. So once I've got everything on and powdered the way I want it to be powdered, then I'm gonna go in with the setting spray again. This is the Milani Make It Last setting spray. It's amazing. Similar to Charlotte Tilbury, if you've ever used that setting spray, like even the packaging is very similar. And then I'm gonna begin on my eyes. I have 2 tips to share with you with creating an eye look that's gonna last you a lot longer, because I don't even think I talked about any eye tips last year. But this year, I wanna share one with you, is using eyeliners, like a brown eyeliner, and smudging it. That's gonna be really, really long wearing. I feel like a lot of people complain that their eyeshadows just fade really quickly. I'm gonna show you what I do with this. I'm using this tiny little eyeshadow palette called the Naked Half Baked mini palette, and I went in with this matte neutral kind of warm tone brown, using a fluffy brush and just diffusing it in the crease, and then going with the pencil brush and sort of just rubbing it along the lower lash line. We're gonna do a really simple eye look using just this color and then a brown eyeliner. These eyeliners are from LA Girl. They're called the Ultimate Intense Stay Auto Liners. They are budge proof. They glide, they blend out, and they stay put. So in summer months, when you wanna make sure that things are staying put and eyeshadows tend to fade very quickly on you, of course you could use an eyeshadow primer. Of course you could try that. I just honestly prefer something a little bit more minimal, unless it's like an event or something, but most of the time I'm just like wanting to look put together. I will take a brown eyeliner. So what I do is I take the brown eyeliner and I'm just going to do a haphazard line across the lash line. And then I'm gonna take this, what is this called? A pencil brush, and immediately start smudging out that line where I get this really pretty diffused smoky lash line. Do you see how the difference that makes? I'm getting some really nice definition on the lash line, but I'm also making it really easy for myself. This is something so easy to do. In summer months, you might start switching up your eye looks to be a little bit more simple. Just like one brown eyeshadow buffed into the crease and on the lower lash line, and then taking like a really long wearing gel eyeliner and smudging that across the lash line instead of having a harsh line, so it looks a little bit like a smoky diffused eye look. When it comes to mascara, one big tip I have for you, if you like don't love waterproof formulas but you want something extremely long wearing, is switch to a tubing mascara. So this is the Tarte tubing mascara. I will also list a few of my other favorites below, a few drugstore options. A tubing mascara, this is something you can Google and like look into for yourself, but basically a tubing mascara sort of wraps your lashes in these little like polymer tubes and they stay put all day, but when it's time to remove the mascara, they come off fairly easily with just warm water. Where other wax-based mascaras, they sort of like flake off and like get really messy looking, these just sort of slide off. Switch to a tubing mascara for summer months if waterproof mascara is just a little too much for you. It just holds up really, really well. I'm gonna put some half lashes on off camera because you know me, I gotta have a lash. But these are great from Amazon. These half lashes are great and they're easy to wear. If you have an event in summer, you don't wanna do a full lash, I've already been saying this for years, just switch to a half lash. It's so much more like flattering. Last thing I want to share with you is like a long wearing lip that is not having to wear like a matte liquid lipstick. So I have a little bit of lip liner on. This is the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil in the shade Wherever Walnut. I always use a lip liner, but I want to share two lip products. One is high-end, one is drugstore. They're kind of dupes for each other. This is the Urban Decay Lip Bond. This is in the shade Textum, and then a similar product would be the Maybelline Super Stay Vinyl inks. So they're kind of like a more long wearing comfortable lipstick. It's not like a dry matte liquid lipstick. It's a liquid lipstick that has a little bit more of a sheen to it, and it is long wearing. And then you just put it on like you would a liquid lipstick and you let it dry, and it has this nice sheen to it. And to me, it feels like I'm wearing just like a regular bullet lipstick that I just put on. It's super comfortable. So if you're looking for a long wear lipstick for the summer, you have an event, you want something to last a little longer, these products are amazing for that because like I said, they're very comfortable and they have like that shine to it without it being like a gloss, but it's not like a long wear dry lipstick. So if you've never tried those, definitely give those a go for the summer. I could have done this earlier, but I just want to add a little bit more highlighter to the skin. This is the Essence The Highlighter in the shade Sun Showers. And I'm just putting a little glow on the cheeks, just a little powder highlighter. And then I'm gonna go in with my setting spray one last time to set everything in place. And here is a long wear summer sweat-proof makeup look with a bunch of different tips and product recommendations that you can start using this summer to incorporate into your routine to make your makeup last and look amazing, even if you feel like you are in the worst weather imaginable. I hope this was super helpful for you. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Thank you all for being here and subscribing and being amazing. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions. I will see you all soon. Bye.